The 1420 Sports Podcast, four beer with sports talk and a whole lot more. Show 173 on January 27th, 2022. Dave, I'm back down in the tavern. I got a couple hockey games on. Just watched Canada beat Honduras in the another World Cup qualifier. I'm not sure how this whole thing works, but as long as you keep winning, you'll end up in the World Cup. That's all that matters to me. Entertaining game. Canada scored twice early, so that it was over quite early for a soccer game, which was good to see. I wasn't on the edge of my seat because I'm not a huge soccer guy. It was good to see Canada win again against Honduras.
I totally missed that because I had family shit to do. I I actually forgot it was on. I was gonna look to see when they did play, but it's good to see Canada win one on the road. It's not easy to win on the road in soccer. I've heard stories, even in this little CONCACAF thing, of how ruthless the opposing fans are to visiting teams.
Well, I was
Like
listening to some other show today,
ruthless.
David, about ruthless, how the fans are and how the military gets involved for escorts to and from the stadiums that they play and everything else. Like, and I don't know anything about. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about the geography and the government of Honduras, but when you're getting escorted to a military escort to a sporting event, there's some serious shit going on.
Oh yeah, and then like they find out what hotel the Canadians are staying or the visiting team is staying off, and they literally party their ass off all night.
Pulling fire alarms and everything
Fire
else. And
alarms, fireworks, like it's just it's unreal. And so it's nice to see Canada win one on the road because it is they make it hard on you.
well, they won today, so now they're one step closer to the World Cup, which haven't been since in '83 or '84 or '86. Actually, I think it was. Doesn't much matter right now. That's a long time ago. Anyways, Dave, big news this week, and you were tweeting about it last night. You got a hold of some guys from guys that I follow, so my personal account and the Alberta Dugout Stories and this and that, and Joe McFarland, baseball guy in Alberta here. The Hall of Fame vote came out. Only one guy made it, and big debate across the sports world, not just these fourth-rate podcasts like ours, but it was right ESPN, and there's a lot of people talking that it's a lot different views and how things have changed over the years, from the PED guys not getting in to should be in, should not be in. The debate is hot and heavy this week that guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens didn't get in on their last kick at the cat or kick at the can. I don't know if you kick cats, whatever, kick a cat, who cares? But it's Bonds didn't get in, Clemens didn't get in, but Big Pappy, big smile, big chains, big personality. He got in with 77.9% of the vote. I don't know, man. I would rather have seen nobody this year than him get in, not just because I'm a Yankee guy, but he's just as guilty as everybody else, man. But because he has a personality, I think him getting in makes it look worse. The Hall of Fame voters, the Baseball Writers of America, and everything else. I think him getting in this time around on the first ballot, I think it looks pretty bad, man.
Are we gonna talk about like the conversation I'm prepared to have is that I'm pleased that Bonds and Clemens are not in the Hall of Fame. I would like to
start with that.
Okay, well, no, that's gonna take the majority, but so what I want to do, what I want to touch about on Pappy is that he was implicated, guilty. There was never any hard proof on him. I'm not saying it, like he doesn't pass his smell test to me. He really doesn't. The way he was just a middling player for Minnesota.
Yeah.
But then exploded when he got to Boston. It's a little eyebrow raising, and his name was brandished. but I don't think there's any, the hard proof is not there for Pappy. And I don't care. Like I do care. I do care, but I don't think he's near the poster boy for PEDs, as I believe Clemens and Barry Bonds are poster boys.
Well, my problem with the whole thing, Dave, is I don't consider, like, when you talk Hall of Fame, at some point you had to be the best of the best, not just a guy who was on a good team and not a guy who hit a monumental home run. I don't consider David Ortiz one of the greatest baseball players ever played the game.
I think
I just don't.
For 10 years there, I think he was the most feared hitter in the playoff baseball. Like, look at his numbers. He killed it in the playoffs.
But what I'm getting at, Dave, is at no time does his body of work ever match what Barry Bonds did prior to okay, let's say 2000, when the Belco stuff first started with Bonds. At no point is David Ortiz body of work better than what Bonds did in Pittsburgh. At no point.
I can give you that.
Bonds had 2 MVPs. And then at no point is what David Ortiz did when Clemens was with Boston, with Toronto, and then when he went to the Yankees, that's when it kind of first started, and the bullshit there. And with Clemens, at no point was David Ortiz any better as a player than what Clemens did in that stage. I get it. I understand. And I just think that Ortiz gets a pass because there's a great big smile and great big chain, and he's everything else. And he gets a pass because he's Big Poppy. A-Rod is by far a better player before his steroid bullshit. I'm not saying A-Rod should be a Hall of Famer because of what he did, because there is a sportsmanship and a clause in there that writers are supposed to vote on. And because A-Rod started to smile at the end of his Yankee tenure, that he shouldn't get a free pass. I totally get that, because A-Rod's a nozzle, and everybody on the planet who watches baseball can agree with that. I just think that if they should probably maybe have just left Ortiz off for this year. Put him in later, but do not have him as a first ballot guy with guys who are actually first ballot guys. And I'll throw 2 Yankee guys out there. I'll throw Jeter and Mariano out there, who are first ballot Hall of Famers. Ortiz is not anywhere near those 2 fucking guys. Not anywhere close. And he has steroid accusations on him for the Mitchell Report back in 2001 or 2002, whatever. It doesn't matter what year it was.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe they should have just taken a pass on all these players this year, because they're all steroid guys, and that's what you're going to have for the next 4 or 5 years.
I'll give you that. But how do you get whatever, excuse me, 800 people vote on this? Like, I don't know. Like, it's a lot.
It's too many. And I think they really have to find a way to try to not have these guys vote for people, or the writers who some of them barely watch baseball, but once you're a voter, you're a voter. And I just think that there's got to be a better way. You can't have ex-players doing it. You can't have Hall of Famers doing it, because they're, a guy like Goose Gossage ain't going to let anybody in. He probably wouldn't have voted Mariano in.
And on that note, though, too, like, I think the bar at 75% is fairly consensus, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a high bar. It's way better. It's way higher than Kevin Lowe.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I understand you're a little bitter about Ortiz, and your argument is completely valid, but for all these people that are butthurt about Clemens and Bonds getting in, get over it. They gone. They're not. Their plaques will never hang in Cooperstown, and I'm glad for it. And I'll defend the Hall of Fame for it all day, every day. First of all, and you kind of brought this up, they both had Hall of Fame careers before they turned to PED. Oh, like first, before we go anywhere, can we both acknowledge that both of them were on the juice?
I will. Like, I mean, they never,
There is
neither of them
zero
ever
doubt.
tested positive, but it's zero doubt in my mind they were taking a substance they should not have.
Correct. They were
Zero doubt.
on.
What it
They're
was, there was the cream or whatever it was, Bonds was on, and then when Clemens went in front of Congress and saying Pettit misremembered and all this, like, shut up. Both of you just shut up.
They had a syringe with his DNA on it.
Right.
Right.
Like
Like
Ryan Braun blaming the fucking the
right.
cheerleader guy. Like, shut up, you guys.
So like that, and that's what I want to say. Like it's there's no doubt in my mind, zero, that both of them benefited from PEDs in the second half of their career. So you said they should have been in the Hall of Fame before the PEDs, right? Both of them. Like Clemens had 2 Cy Youngs. Barry Bonds had 2 MVPs.
He had 2 MVPs, and I'm going to give him his first one in San Francisco without the Belco stuff. I'll give him that one. So we had 3 MVPs before the juice started. I'm going to give. I did some research on that, and I remember watching how great he was and everything else. Yeah. So I'll give Clemens probably 3 of his Cy Youngs, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but like a better than average chance of making the Hall of Fame without PEDs. Then what's their motivation to do PEDs?
Well, okay. My personal thought is that at that point, money started really getting big. And so, well, if I can turn my $5 million contract into $15 million contract, if I can turn my $10 million contract into $30 million contract, that's my first opinion, because
they both had $50-60 million in the bank before that.
Well, but why is there $25 million contracts for A-Rod in whatever year that he signed that one, right? So I'm better than this guy, so I want more. And when you have $50 or $60 million in the bank, yeah, it's more than you'll ever spend in your life. But why is that guy making more than me? Why? He's not better than I am. And then they probably knew some insider trading, everything else, that A-Rod was doing it when he went to Texas. Well, he got the first $25 million contract, which he did for 10 years. I'm better than that fucker. Like, A-Rod probably started the whole craze. I'm like, with his contract and the steroids, a whole bit. A-Rod caused this whole shitstorm. I've thought that for years, that A-Rod caused this shitstorm in baseball, and then baseball turned its head, which we all know in 97 or 98, whatever year that the Sosa McGuire baseball chase was, because they had to figure out a way to bring baseball back to relevancy after the lockout in 94, 95, whatever year that was. So A-Rod and the fucking Texas Rangers caused this thing. And that's my opinion, 100%.
So like back to the thing that, like, if they were Hall of Famers, then why do PEDs? And then so now so it's not for the glory of the game anymore. I think it's for money. It's for greed. You're not in this game because you love baseball anymore. You're in this game to make as much money as you can. So someone who's
at that point, yes.
Right. So they gave up on the purity of the game that made them rich and famous because they weren't getting paid enough money. So then on that regard, they traded a little bit of their soul to the devil for more money. And which is fine. It's not fine. It's not fine according to me. But that's one reason, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't cheat the game and get your money and be honored by the game that you cheated. So if they were Hall of Famers beforehand, it didn't matter that much to them, the sanctity of the game, because they cheated the game.
This problem didn't, it keeps going on and on. I don't know if you remember the name of Chris Colabello with the Toronto Blue Jays about three years ago, when the Jays had their little run there, won some playoff rounds, everything else. And he was going to be a fringe guy. He was always a fringe guy. He took some PEDs. He got caught, and he's out of the game now. And he said basically, like, I would never have been an MLB guy, but he took some juice and He made the big leagues, and if he would never got caught, he probably would have got a 10-year career, which changes your life. This whole thing, baseball could have stopped it themselves, and this is my problem why they don't have Bonds and shit. Well, we'll get to Schilling in a second here.
No,
Bonds.
we're just talking Bonds and
Okay, well, let's do that
and
tonight. We'll
Clemens.
get into
Yeah.
everything else. Maybe next week we'll talk about the other guy. But the steroid thing, baseball created this monster, and they never stopped it. They never stopped it. It was never illegal to be doing PEDs at that point.
Well,
Baseball's to blame. So, and because it's not the Hall of Fame, so Major League Baseball kind of gets a pass on this because it's not the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. It's the Baseball Hall of Fame. So MLB can wipe their hands of it and say, well, who gives a fuck? It's not, we don't make $1 off of this. Who gives a shit?
well, of course, Major League Baseball makes $1 off of this shit because it puts asses in the seats, right? And it puts eyes on baseball. But it's funny you mention that it wasn't against the rules of the game. Neither is aggravated assault. And how's that going for Trevor Bauer, right?
Well, and that's what we'll get to. I'll bring up Schilling quickly here. If Schilling didn't say fucking boo throughout his career, he played in Philadelphia, Arizona, didn't say a fucking thing. All of a sudden, he's a Trumper and saying bad things, and all of a sudden, the media hates him. He's tweeting stupid things, so he's out of the Hall of Fame. If he didn't say stupid shit on Twitter, he'd be in the Hall of Fame today.
And I'm saying it's possible, but that's a totally different than what I'm saying. Like anyone that ever says, well, it wasn't against the rules of the game. Neither is child molestation. Neither is child molestation. Neither is driving drunk. Neither is murder.
But there's a morality clause. There is a sportsmanship clause that the voters are supposed to take the whole thing into effect. Yes, there
just
is.
Because absolutely. It's not in the rules of the game is the biggest fucking cop out ever. I
agree. I agree with you, Dave. I'm just saying that
you're just saying it wasn't against the rules. You said it. I didn't. Well,
I did, but it's comparing child molestation and sexual assault to steroid abuse is a stupid comment.
Well, it's not in the rules of the game.
That's a dumb comment. You can't compare that, Dave. That's dumb.
I just did.
Well, you shouldn't. One's way worse than the other.
Oh, without a doubt.
I also believe that they should be taking people out of the Hall of Fame, whichever sport it is, that if they've been a fuckhead like O.J. Simpson, probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame anymore.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. What? Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, they are in the Hall of Fame. All their records are in the Hall of Fame. No one took away.
Yeah, they're part of history. They are.
Exactly. And then like anyone that goes through the Hall of Fame can go through the
museum.
Right.
There's not in the plaque room.
And the annals of history and multiple Cy Young and like Barry Bonds. He's not my home run champion, but he's Major League Baseball's home run champion. You don't think they have a bat?
I think that Barry Bonds has the record, but he isn't even Major League Baseball's home run champion. He's not.
But I bet you it's there in the
his bat's there, or the ball's there, or whatever's there, and everything else.
We're not.
I think we agree on that he's not the home run champion. He's not this, and then McGuire's not the single season, or not. It's Bonds as well.
Yeah,
it's still Roger Maris, right? And some actually don't even think Maris is. They still think it's Babe Ruth, right? So it's
and that's the thing, because baseball can get sanctimonious at times, right? And it's funny that the baseball writers or whoever votes on the Hall of Fame is actually holding them. They're being more sanctimonious than baseball, because I think it was a crime to give Roger Maris that asterisk. For
that many years.
You play 162 games or 163. Please. Like
I was saying it's 150 to 162 actually, but
yeah, that is not important. It was a playoff game. It was a regular season game to go to the playoffs. Well, it was an additional game, right? Yeah. So the fact they hung an asterisk on him and he did nothing wrong. But they won't take a record away. They won't asterisk any of this stuff. Fair enough. That's your choice, Major League Baseball. But these guys' accomplishments are now part of baseball history. And I think this is the perfect way to go about it. This is actually a bit of a reckoning because 20 years from now, when the kids that are baseball fans are going, like, they're going to scratch their head. Why is the all-time hit leader not in the Hall of Fame?
Time hit leader.
Is that because he bet on baseball? Why is a 5-time Cy Young winner not in thing? Because he did steroids. Why is the home run champ gone? Because he did steroids.
And
And
that's
like
what I'm
this
saying,
is what
Dave.
you have
Baseball could have stopped all of this stuff prior to this happening, and they
by
didn't.
doing what? By doing what?
Suspending these guys. They knew. There's no way they didn't know, but the almighty dollar fucking got them to that point.
So by putting rules in the game when they knew it was running rampant, like they should have let Sammy and McGuire do their thing.
But they couldn't.
But they could do it the next.
Maybe the next year, yeah.
Yeah, like a collective bargaining.
Like nothing's illegal till it becomes illegal, right?
Well, no, but
Does that make any sense? Like,
no, I do hear what you're saying. So it wasn't in the rules of the game, but it was against the rules of the land,
yeah,
right? So they were breaking the laws of the country,
yeah.
but they're not breaking the rules of baseball. So you're allowed to, like, and that's why, and street fighting, aggravated assault. Like that's not against the rules of baseball.
It's just the whole thing. Baseball created a monster, and they didn't stop it themselves. And now they have a monster for the next 15 years because then they're going to get these veterans things for the Hall of Fame and blah blah blah. Baseball created this monster on their own, and they did nothing to stop it because the dollars made more sense. Dollars and cents made more sense, right, to them. And there's nothing they can do about it now. Nothing.
Well, now they have to reckon with it, right? Which they have, and they put in the fairly strict PED penalty rules, and we'll both agree on that. But like it was a slow moving train, and then when they just started rubbing their hands together too much with that Sosa and McGuire thing in that one summer.
The commercials, chicks dig the long ball, the whole bit, man.
It was exciting. And they were trying to put asses in the seats because of the strike. And I understand why and how. But then when it's too much, and then like when Barry Bonds, who would have had a Hall of Fame career without using PEDs, it was just greed. He was jealous of the attention that McGuire and Sosa were getting. And he's like, I'm a better player than this. Yes, you are. And so and that's why he did it. That's why he did it, because he was jealous, and he wanted to show everybody how much of a better ball player he was than them. And he was. He was the single greatest hitter for those 5 years in the history of hitting anything.
There probably isn't 5 baseball players better than him that ever played the game.
But
we'll talk about that on another show, but we'll never know. We'll never know.
He was so feared, and I get it. But it was because he was on PED. So all this shit when people say,
no matter what,
if you would have taken away all his home runs and his walks and stuff like that, but he was so goddamn scary because he wasn't aging. He was getting better because he was on PED. So any comparison to Bonds being in the Hall of Fame before his career, like you can't you can't do that to me, because he became so much better because he was one of the best ball players alive ever. And then you put him on juice. He was the scariest man at the dish ever.
You go back to Ortiz for a second. My hatred for the Red Sox is well known, but he's a good player. I don't think he was a great player because he didn't play. He was a DH. I thought, yes, he was very good in the playoffs. Dave, let's just say, for sake of conversation, hypothetically speaking, let's just say that, I can't remember what year it was, but let's just say that Prince Fielder brought a World Series to Milwaukee. What the fuck's the difference? It's the same guy. It's the same player. And Prince Fielder got like 1% of the vote this year. It's the
Yeah.
same guy. But because Poppy has that great big smile, he got a lot of votes, and you can't deny that.
Um, I'm not saying it hurt him at all. I haven't really broken down his numbers because I don't care for him. I don't care for the Red Sox. You can obviously make an argument, but no one went in last year. I don't know. Like, it's not up to me. I wouldn't have voted for him. Like my bigger offenses are the guys that aren't going to be on the ballot next year. There's a couple really good players.
Really good players. Like, okay, I do have a problem. Okay, and this is dragging a little bit, but I got a problem with voting for just random people. And like, Scott Rowland's a nice player. He's not better than A-Rod with or without steroids. He's not. Don't vote for either of them then. Like, don't just fucking stroke off names because you got to stroke off names. I got a problem with the ballot. Did you know, Dave, that the New York Times does not allow their reporters to vote in any of the postseason awards, Hall of Fame, because they're only supposed to report on the news. They're not supposed to become news. Do you know that? I learned that today.
Huh. Well, like the Post and the Times.
Just the Times, if you're the Times, you cannot be a part of the ballot because you're not supposed to be news. You report on the news. We don't want our reporter giving a reason why he voted for this guy.
Well, no, I don't agree with that because you don't have to show your ballot.
No,
You have to give.
should.
You have. I'm not.
I
saying
think
you
they
shouldn't.
should. I think they should have to disclose their ballots. Because who in their right mind didn't vote for Mariano or Jeter? One guy, just to look at me. Fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. Just for comment.
Anyways, no, the Baseball Hall of Fame vote. Go ahead. So sorry, Dave.
I just got a couple points
Yeah.
again about why I think these guys should be out because, like as I mentioned, their records are there. They're part of baseball lore, and they will be forever.
Forever.
So whereas like Lance Armstrong, they stripped him of his titles.
Yep.
He was one of the only cyclist name anybody in North America knows. They took all his titles away. He's not in the record books. Reggie Bush, right? Like, and that's not for PEDs. They took his Heisman away. They took USC's championship season away.
Crazy.
Ben Johnson, any Olympic athlete, they don't take away your medal. They take away your accomplishments.
Yeah, baseball causes problem.
Yeah, and baseball doesn't do that. And at the end of the day, if there's anyone that's banned from baseball that I want to see in the Hall of Fame, it's Shoeless Joe Jackson. That's it. Unless they want to put that guy in, then let's not even open the door on Pete Rose and Clemens and
Go
Bonds.
back to the beginning and start from there.
Start from there and fix the problem that
they caused.
That they caused by underplaying their players, right? And I'm not saying I don't have that intimate of knowledge, but look at Shoeless Joe Jackson's stats in the World Series where he was supposedly on the take to throw it. It don't add up to me, buddy. And secondhand information from a co-conspirator, that shouldn't get a man banned for life.
Yeah.
He never admitted guilt. Everybody else, Pete Rose admitted his guilt. Clemens never admitted his guilt, but like, come on, we're not stupid.
He lied in front of Congress about it, and then threw other people on the bus, anything else. Yeah,
right. And
Clemens, yeah,
and Barry Bonds. I don't know if he's ever spoken publicly about it. But we all know, like, there's no doubt he cheated the game, and that's it. Like, so I think it's good that they're out because later, 20 years down the road, kids can ask these questions to their moms and dads and ask why these players aren't in. And then now you're having a conversation with your kids of what it means to abide by the rules of the game and to play a game with honor and dignity.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't understand what's wrong with that. You still get your records, you still got your money. No one's coming after all that. And if the Hall of Fame meant so much to you, then maybe you should have treated it with a little bit more dignity.
And that's the thing. I don't think at that point the Hall of Fame meant anything to those guys. But then you when you're done and you're retired, I wouldn't mind being in the Hall of Fame and hanging with the boys, in the Hall of Fame. And like I said, I think that the free agency and the money and A-Rod started that shitstorm, man. I really believe that in my heart of hearts. I've been watching baseball my entire life, and that's the day the day the music died. And I honestly believe that when that fucking piece of garbage, Alex Rodriguez, who tricked me, man, he tricked me near the end of his Yankee tenure. That guy is human fecal matter, and he caused this problem. And I believe that in my heart of hearts.
I have no doubt that you believe that in your heart of hearts, but you're such a fucking hypocrite. Like every single time we talk about players and money, you put that contract in front of me and I'll sign it. How is it his fault that he signed $250 million?
No, I don't fault him for signing contracts. I'm faulting that they didn't test him. They didn't how it was allowed to go on. I'd sign that contract every day. Who wouldn't?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't understand.
But I'm just saying the baseball. I said it earlier today, Dave. Baseball's to blame for this problem that they have. Baseball's the only people to blame, and A-Rod started it all. I'd sign that contract, absolutely. If somebody told me when I was 19 years old, Dave, take steroids, I would have done it. You're going to make $40 million. Yep. Done.
You can't go in the Hall of Fame.
Done. $40 million, way more important than a plaque in Cooperstown.
Yeah, I think it might be as well. But like, how about like, you know what? Like, what is the comparison? Like, would you play baseball for half the salary to be in the Hall of Fame? Like, so these guys are making, like, Hall of Famers are going to be ending up making
$20 million a year now.
Yeah, between $200 and $300 million, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be, I would imagine half of those $20 million players are not going to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because there's a Hall of Pretty Good. There's the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But Scott Rowland's a good player. He should not be getting 68% of the fucking Hall of Fame vote. He's a pretty good player.
He's a decent player. But who is the one? There's one player that I can't, like, Tim Hudson.
Hud was really good.
Really good. For the A's, he was part of that super staff. They went to the Braves and put some good years together.
Really good pitcher.
And he got
like 8% of the vote.
Yeah.
Hud was really, really good. Hud, Zero, so Mulder, really good.
Tim Lincecum.
We talked
Speaking
about
of what we're gonna talk about him, not him, people like him, like fucking 2 Cy Youngs, 3 World Series in a 10-year career.
If he gets that 3rd Cy Young, he's in.
But he only got 9 votes.
Okay,
he only got 9 votes.
If he gets that 3rd Cy Young, he's Barry Bonds in his Pittsburgh career. Right?
But how does Andy Pettitte get 42 votes and Tim Lincecum gets 9? That is criminal.
Pettitte won some World Series and everything else.
There is no
no, and then there's the East Coast bias because he's a Yankee, and I get that. Like, I get how the voting works, and he's just more and longevity, right?
Andy Pettitte is Mark Burley is a shitty Mark Burley.
No, Pettitte's really, really good.
He's an innings eater. He's an innings eater.
You were just bragging. You were bragging up fucking Big Poppy about his playoff tenure. Pettitte was twice the fucking player Poppy was in the playoffs.
Shut your pie hole. 5.2 ERA and 6 strong innings, and he's just gritty. Oh shit.
Anyways, we'll talk about this. We can talk. We can have a Hall of Fame once a month. We'll talk about it again. Anyways, 1420 podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk. The Hall of Fame will never get old, and a whole lot more.
Clemens, Bonds, don't go away, Mad. Just go away.
Vince Neil, Motley Crue.
Bye-bye.
1420 Sports Podcast, 4 Beer Sports Talk, and a whole lot more. Dave, you're sticking with Old Faithful tonight. I see you got a king of beers in your hand. I'm just going with the never fills you up, never lets you down, Bud Light. Sometimes you just got to stick with Old Faithful, don't you?
Well, without a doubt. And I was tired. It took these old bones a couple of days to recuperate from the Bonspiel.
Yeah.
So like, drinking wasn't high on my mind. And so I had some leftovers from the Bonspiel, and it's just, this will do tonight.
They don't just do it, they do well.
Oh yeah, there's a reason it's always in my fridge.
Yeah, there you go. Anyways, Dave, as a flailing tender like I was myself many, many, many moons ago, I what I saw this week from the Buffalo Sabres goaltender Aaron Dell, I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate what he did to the Drake Batherson, the Ottawa Senators. Two teams are going absolutely nowhere. I get it. You got to compete, and you try to improve your career and move on to different teams, different levels and contracts, and everything else. I get it. But what Aaron Dell did to Batherson was one of the dirtier plays I've seen in hockey in a long time. Um, I I thought it was gross. A goalie has a right to run interference, but the way Dell threw his shoulder into Batherson, which turned out to be a horrible, because a high ankle sprain, a horrible injury, a high ankle sprain can be worse than a break a lot of times. Dave, I didn't like it. I didn't like the response that the Ottawa Senators had after it. I didn't like any of it. If that would have been, let's say, Mike Vernon, circa Calgary Flames 1986, doing that against, let's not say Gretzky, but let's say throw a name out there for
Kevin
the
Lowe.
Oilers. Well, fuck him, whatever. He wouldn't have been rushing out. He never got in the offensive zone. But if that would have been him with Mike Krushelnyski, let's say, that it would have caused an instant brawl, which would have been warranted, I think. Dave, I thought that was one of the dirtier hockey plays I've seen in a long time.
I understand how a goalie wants to make, but like, and also too, isn't he like literally number 6 or 7 on the depth list? Like Buffalo's having problems. Like he's not. It's not like he's their number 110. And if this is how you want to make a name for yourself, it's gonna be a short career, buddy. Because it's absolutely bush league. Because now you're gonna like if I'm on the ice and I'm a forward of Ottawa, I grab him, I rip that cage off, and I start feeding. But then now we're gonna have 3 guys that are gonna be jumping on me, and I'm gonna take a beating for that. Because it's your goalie, you can't touch the goalie. Do you think his own teammates are happy and proud of him? You really showed that's absolute fucking bullshit, man. You hurt a guy, and you're not supposed to do that. Well, I can. You shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
Because then you can drop the mitts and take them on. Okay.
Dave, I got a funny story that goes right along with what you're saying. When back when I was allergic to vulcanized rubber and the pucks would miss me at a furious pace, I was a bit of a mouthpiece. Lo and behold, like you never would have thought that. Hey, like I was mouthy and didn't mind hacking a few guys in the ankles, and I had some pretty tough defensemen backing me up back in the early '90s. There, where it was the Wild West to play in junior hockey, in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. I was a mouthpiece, and one night my tough guy forwards and defensemen, they just said, "Nope, this is on you, man. Like you fucking slash that guy, and you've been a mouthpiece all night long. This is on you." And this guy fucking punched me so fucking hard in the face because I dropped the mitts. Like I was gonna man up, and this guy beat the shit out of me. He hit me so fucking hard that I was like, "Yep, well, I deserved it," and that was on me. What Aaron Dell he did the other night, that his players, somebody should have jumped him. Maybe not jumped. Jump's the wrong word, probably. But somebody should have confronted him, because I think the game was out of hand at that point, anyways. Score wise, someone should have confronted him and said, "We're doing this. I don't give a fuck about this guy or that guy or anything else. We're doing this. Me and you are fighting. You hurt an all-star player. Now he can't go to the all-star game. Now he's out his bonus and la da 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 da. Like, we're doing this because you're a shithead." Someone should have done something.
I can't believe it didn't happen. Like I would have jumped off the next shift. I don't care. Like I am as a teammate, as a senator, like you're gonna pay for that, buddy. And it's right now, next fucking shift. Like that is absolute garbage. It's not part of the game. It's never been a part of the game. It's garbage. And then to a second point, do you think anyone in the goalie fraternity thinks this is cool?
Not one person.
Yeah, like, if goalies are gonna start doing this, what about someone like, like pick any goalie that we know their name? Flurry, Price, any one of those Russians.
Probably the biggest goalie hugger in the media nowadays is Jamie Noodles McLennan. Played here at Leopard for the Hurricanes. There, he's on overdrive, and he was like, that was a Bush move, and he's a goalie hugger like no one's business, and he said it was a Bush move, and so and he would be the president of the International Goaltenders Union, and he was not. I don't know what his thoughts were internally, but the way he sounds, like it was a Bush move. Whether he was disgusted by it or not, who knows? I was disgusted by it as the next tender. Like it was awful and it was gross. And it goes back years ago when a guy would hit a goalie being defenseless, because most goalies they were unaware and they thought they were untouchable. It changes the things now. Okay, Dave, would you change the rules once a goalie comes out of the zone or comes out of a crease, or maybe put a new trapezoid or something else? Could hockey put something, if a goalie goes out of this area, he's fair game, and then if a goalie's out of that area, he can also go and hit a guy? Should there be a not a penalty zone like there's in soccer, but could you do something where a goalie can hit a guy and it's fair game?
No, because it's ridiculous. It's for this. It's for the smallest percentage of goalies. Like if a goalie is out there hitting a guy, it happens so rarely a goalie wouldn't want to do it, because if you're hitting a guy that if you're out there hitting a guy, I'm guessing you're going to create maybe a 70% chance of your team getting possession of the puck. Because at the end of the day, whatever happens to the puck, and if that goalie is out there picking his ass off the carpet because he
most will.
Yeah, because you're big and bulky, and you're not meant to be. You're meant to be agile, obviously, but not quick to get back to the net. You see a goalie in a scrum and whatever, when they get knocked out of the net, it's like Bambi on ice trying to get back to the net. They forget how to skate for that 2.3 seconds. It's ridiculous. It's a rule that doesn't have to be made, because it doesn't need to be made, because no game plan in the history of game plans ever has a goalie laying a body check.
Like one thing that bothered me, not one, like one of the other things that bothered me, I guess a better way of wording it, was when Tkachuk went and confronted this Aaron Dell guy. I can't believe you know this guy's name. I would never know his name otherwise. Buffalo Sabres last place goaltender, whatever. The smirk on Dell's face, and why Tkachuk, yes, he's the captain, but you know what? I would have respected Tkachuk a lot more if he would have stroked that guy right in the face. Because there was a smirk on that goalie's face that, like, you can't touch me, I'm untouchable. If that was his dad would have knocked that. Like if it was his dad, let's say, who would have been playing goal for Buffalo back then? Hasek would never have done that, obviously, because Hasek weighed 145 pounds. He was a scarecrow in that, but he loves stopping pucks more than
Doesn't matter.
People. But just comparing the two names, if it was 25 years ago when it was Keith Tkachuk and Dominic Hasek with the St. Louis Blues playing, his dad would have just knocked the shit out of that goaltender. And I think that's the problem that we have with hockey now, Dave. There isn't the enforcers on this. We talked about a few weeks ago what's wrong with hockey and how it isn't entertaining. I should say it's not entertaining. It's not as entertaining because this shit's happening and there's nothing to protect players, because there's no accountability to give it. Like if let's say it was Keith Tkachuk, give a tap on the guy's skate laces that during the next face, I'll say, you better go talk to your tender here, because if I'm either going to fight you or I'm going to punch you in the face. So you better straighten this shit out or else you're going to get it. And we don't have that in hockey anymore.
Yeah, and I get that, but with that, back to the smirk face, instead of like a drilling him in the face, just a quick backhand. So like I would Like, right,
Like
like,
you're like your grade 4 science teacher. You idiot.
exactly. Like, smarten up. It's like I
Martin,
do. Yeah.
knock, knock.
Yeah.
Who's there? Martin. Martin up. Done.
Yeah. Like, you're an idiot, and that's a warning now. Because the next one's gonna be Knuckles.
Yeah.
Right? Just and then he would flop around like I'll wipe that smirk off your
Because
face,
I'm going to see
boy.
you 2 more times this year, man. That's the smirk bugged me. That's one thing that bugged me a lot about that Aaron Dell guy. That guy's on my like no guy list for sure. That
Yeah,
guy's a piece of shit. Like that was
you
a
know,
bullshit move.
and a quick backhand, it doesn't hurt. It grabs your attention,
It's
and then
embarrassing too, though.
it's embarrassing. Yeah. And I got your
I just got
attention though, don't
scolded
I?
by one of my peers.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
just, yeah, just, like I would do my dog, right? Like if he does something stupid.
Martin up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I'd give him a Martin up.
Like that would never happen 25, 30 years ago, 15 years ago, even like that. It's just the way we've talked about ad nauseum, Dave, the way that the game has changed with the tough guys and everything else. It's just, it's just, you got everybody. How do I word this? The entitlement of some players, like every player gets the NHL. I don't think that they understand the privilege that it is to be in the National Hockey League compared to what it was 30 years ago.
Do you know why? Because they're all privileged to start with. You don't make it to the NHL without being born into privilege. It's
Yeah.
impossible. Right?
No.
Like there's no stories about playing on the farm in the dugout and stuff like that. Like, why is there so many Americans playing in the thing? Because it's rich
A lot of
parents
money, a lot of rich parents. I mean,
that
I don't
don't
know
want
anything
to-
about Aaron Dell. He might have come. We didn't do any research on this, obviously, because we never do any research in the 1420 podcast. But maybe he's the one guy who did. So we're going to eat crow tomorrow when Tim does some research and tells us how dumb we are. But I don't get it. What I don't get about Dave about hockey, and we're not going to get into the academies and stuff, but what I don't get about hockey is that it's maybe more, it's our generation's kids who are playing the game now that we should have taught better, that should know better. And it seems to be that they just don't. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm always cautious when I let my brain go that way, because like now am I just like, am I the guy that walked 2 miles in snow with no shoes uphill? Like every generation says kids these days. It's been a saying,
No, absolutely.
right? And so who am I to say? I think the difference is the technology and distractions for kids these days.
Yeah.
Like the distractions and the ability to get into trouble, and not necessarily trouble like we would get into trouble riding our bikes after night, or like going through someplace throwing the occasional egg. That don't happen, and kids wouldn't even think I would imagine 80% of kids are too chicken shit to throw an egg at a car these days.
Fuck, I used to love throwing eggs at Halloween.
Oh, egg throwing is a rare treat.
That was a riot.
Oh
It
man,
caused a couple of riots in the big town of Port McLeod, but anyway.
yeah, but nonetheless, and but just the danger you can get on it in social media, the video games and the portability of video games, like that's something I didn't have. I got an Atari, whatever it was, 1600. You remember the one with the joystick and the one orange button? I got that for grade 9 grad. That was my graduating grade 9 present.
Yeah.
Grade 9, and I got a bonk, like something I could probably figure out how to program.
Now kids have phones and get anything they want when they're 9, not grade 9.
And watch and talk to anyone
Just
on the
different.
planet. Yeah,
it is different.
It's so many distractions.
I just find it odd that the coaches are my generation that are allowing this crap to happen, and how it's different when I played junior hockey, how there was brawls every night, and not that that was a good thing, not at all. Like it was scary some nights and it was entertaining some nights, but how the lack of care for other people it seems to be, because that was an egregious hit the other night, and I thought it was gross. And that Aaron Dell should have got a lot more than 3 games because that Batherson kid's out for 2 months now, minimum.
And I'm sure this moron didn't mean to put him out for 3 months, but it was a cheap shot when someone was coming in at full speed and had no clue
Because
that
because
this was
it,
coming.
because it, you can't hit a goalie, so goalie can't hit a guy.
Right.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, like you were not part of the play. You left your crease to cheap shot me.
To do nothing, like it was to run interference, and then it was a bullshit play.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that smirk is what did it for me. I would have, if I was on the ice, it wouldn't have just been my fist. It would have been a stick across that guy's coconut. Like, you cocksucker.
Yeah, he would have to pay.
There
He would
it
have
was,
to pay.
I mean, things have changed a lot in 25 years or 30 years since I've played hockey, but it would have been a pretty vicious little event going on for sure. That just, because that's it. That's just how it used to be, right? I mean, not that it
And
was
that's the
right,
way
but that's how
but
it
that's
used
the
to
way
be.
it should be, right?
I think
Like,
it's still. I think it still should be that way. I do.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Like-
allowed to fight, and you're allowed. There are rules that say you can fight. You get a 5-minute penalty. All right,
Mhm.
good enough. If I punch you in the face, I get a 2-minute penalty.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
it's funny, like you get the rare guys like Jason Williams who can do both and can take care of himself. But that's a rare commodity these days. I don't think you can get these big guys who are willing to do it.
Do you think
And-
if the Kachuk boys weren't so skilled and paid as what they were, do you think they would be a little bit more rowdy?
Possibly, and they're not
Because
that-
they're gritty, fucking spastastic sometimes.
they're definitely the players that you want on your team and don't want to play against because
Yeah.
they'll drive you nuts with their ticky tacky and their mouthpieces, and like, which is a valuable resource to have on a team, especially when you got the kind of skill those two boys have. But they're not heavyweights by any means. They ain't no Probert. Yeah,
No.
they're not even a Lucic, right? Like, Lucic in his prime could score goals. He wasn't as skilled as these guys, but he would pound the piss out of you if he had to. He did it the other day, like the game before the Edmonton.
Knuckles were fucked and the whole bit. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ.
and you know what? And good on him. Like, I've always liked him as a player. I thought it was just a bad contract that the Oilers offered him. And he couldn't live up to expectations there. But now that expectations have been modified in Calgary, he is a good guy. And he's a decent hockey player. He's just, you can't play that style of game.
He's got a shitty. He's got a contract that doesn't equal what he's giving now.
Correct. Which I said the millisecond I heard about.
I remember
that.
my mom. She was livid when that happened. She's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" But, anyways, 1420 Sports Podcast. Dave, there's 2 NFL games this weekend. The AFC NFC Championship games. Straight up, who do you got?
I think the Rams are gonna break
Watch out.
the 6-game losing streak. They've lost to the Niners 6 games in a row. They are going to be at home, but the crowd is going to be pro Niner. I think there's going to be more Niners fans in that barn than they are Rams fans. I think the Rams are going to take this personally. And I think they're going to overcome. I think the Rams are going to win handily. When I say handily, the Rams are going to win by more than 9.5 points.
You said that last week with the Packers.
I did.
And I said it's gonna be closer. And
I for
I-
sure
and-
did.
Yeah, no, I know. We'll get Jim to go back and through our predictions.
I actually
And
listened
maybe
to it.
maybe do a compilation show of all our picks for the NFL
I
playoffs.
did.
Let
I
Jim
did
put
talk
it out
you in.
there.
I did talk you into the Packers.
Yeah,
But
I thought. Anyways, doesn't matter.
But anyway, so I think the Rams. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I cannot believe in a million years that I'm saying this. Who dey? Like, those Bengals are just awesome to watch. Joe Burrow is my new favorite player.
Got sacked 9 times last week. How much you got in him? He's young, so
Oh yeah, like, but and he's money. He's money. And the swagger on that team. Did you hear that story about the kicker? Before he went on the field to kick the game-winning field goal.
Oh,
So Joe Burrow or someone was standing beside him. He took his last practice kick. He goes, "Oh, looks like we're off to the AFC finals." And he went out and stroked a field goal. And he's a
unreal,
rookie.
man.
That
Love it.
is
Love it.
awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I
Walk
got
the talk.
I got Niners winning a close one once again, 21-19. And then I have the fuck. I hate to say it. I got the Chiefs. Mahomes was on fire last week because they had a perfect game, basically. I got the Chiefs winning 38, 30, 35-17 kind of deal. It's not going to be close. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close.
No. So I reverse. Like I think both teams hit the 30s. It's going to be a 5-point game no matter who wins. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but go Joe Burrow. Fuck.
I'd rather the Bengals win, absolutely, but I still think they're going to.
I haven't loved the quarterback in the NFL in a long time like I love this guy.
Jim, you're listening tonight when you put this all together. Do a montage of sorts and see what our picks were, what we actually came up with for this playoff season. Because it's I think we've been pretty good, Dave. I think we were like I was 4-0 the first week. I went 2-2. Like I've been okay.
I think we both done good, and I even remember when we were on the we put our picks out with brutally honest that when we guessed with those guys, we put out our picks, and at that point I picked KC to go to the finals, but still I'm willing to eat a little crow and see the orange and black of the tiger.
We should give those guys a call maybe on Sunday or Monday or starting before Super Bowl, see what their thoughts are and how things are going. That was a fun show we did with those guys. They were good.
Yeah, both collaborations are really good, and I'd like to do more, but time is time. There will be a break after this one. We're 2 weeks from the Super Bowl, so maybe we can have a Super Bowl Sunday Eve thing.
Collaboration Eve. There you go.
Line them
Anyways,
up. 15 minutes each. Just bang them off. We can
bang them off. Yeah, talk.
We can say the same thing. 13 minutes, right?
Yeah, no one listens, anyways.
Yeah, no one listens. Jesus Christ! Tell people about us, you motherfuckers.
The 1420 Sports Podcast, 4 beer with sports talk, and a whole lot more. The 1420 Sports Podcast, 4 beer with sports talk, and a whole lot more. Our master sound technician, James Schwarn, or the sound guy, Jimmy, he came up with the idea that every Thursday we should have a top 5 list. I think it's a great idea. It gets people talking about the show, and things happen on Twitter and Instagram and everything else. And the top 5, and then Dave and I can debate about this. He came up with the topic this week: top 5 athletes whose careers ended too soon because of an injury. Lots of careers end too soon because of certain reasons. They just weren't good enough, didn't want to play anymore. But injuries is usually the reason why guys don't play anymore. Dave, I got 7 that I pared down to 5. There's a couple I don't think you have, and then you said there's a couple that you I don't have. Let's do your top 5, then we'll do my top 5, and then we'll go from there.
You want to go 5, 5, 4, 4, or do you just want to go me 5 down to 1 again? Like
you go 5 down to 1 again. It seemed to work last week.
Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch that I had problems keeping off my list, but I wanted a 5. I wanted an original 5. Originality speaks more to me than actually having the best. I like being original and defend my originality as opposed to having the actual best ones. So my number 5, because unfortunately there's a lot of NFL and NHL and it stands to reason, right? That's the most violent sports. But my number 5 is I a Hall of Famer, Minnesota Twin great Kirby Puckett. Kirby Puckett, I thought he played like forever. He only had an 11-year career. Two
Great player.
worlds, two World Series, didn't look it, but in his 10th year, he got hit by a pitch in the head. And then after that, he developed eye issues and he got diagnosed with glaucoma.
Yeah.
He retired after only 11 years.
Yeah, great player.
A player like him is like 17 to 20
There was a catch in the 87 World Series, I think it was.
against the
at
garbage bag.
against the
Yeah.
wall, just climbed the glass there. Awesome player. Turned out to be not a great dude, all the stuff that came out from behind, but you know what? Great player. Let's not talk about throw shade at anybody. Kirby Puckett, great player. I agree, like right there, number 5 for you, Dave. No, that's a good pick.
Thank you. My next one. We were just talking about him. He's a San Francisco 49er. He had an 8-year NFL career. He played from 2007 to 2014. His name's Patrick Willis. Awesome. First year in the league, he had he was rookie, the defensive player of the year. And so in those 8 years, he had 5 more first all pros than Ben Roethlisberger. He had 1 more second team all pro than Ben Roethlisberger. And in an 8-year career, he was in the Pro Bowl every year but 1. 8 years. And then he had a toe injury. Of all things, toe injury sounds so benign.
I enjoy my toe every morning. Stub it. Yeah, every morning.
But like he had to quit.
Those are debilitating injuries. It's the stub toe. Jesus, fuck, man.
He was a dominant player in the NFL every single game. Every single year of his career, and he had to quit after only 8 years. And it's the injury isn't catastrophic, but now he's watching football. His first year in the league was 2007, and I looked him up on Wiki the other day when I was just snooping around. He's only 36 now, and he's been out of the league for 7 years.
He's still younger than both of us, and he ain't catching up.
Oh no!
That's how that works, I guess, right?
Well, we won't widen the gap either. Like you got to look at it 2 ways, right?
Yeah.
So that's my one. Like you like to be one of the best every single year of your career, and then have to quit because of a nagging toe injury.
Yeah.
It's toes. It's too bad. My number 3 is a woman. I always try and make sure female athletes are recognized on my list. This woman had 8 Grand Slams before the age of 20, and 10 in her total career. Her career was cut short when she was 21 by a fucking fan that came out of the stands and stabbed her.
I also had her at number 3, Dave. Monica Seles. I had
Monica Seles.
She was she's still an all-time great. Wimbledon, There was a crazy fan who was a Steffi Graf fan. Didn't want Monica Seles to catch Steffi Graf for the all-time Grand Slam list. Blah blah blah.
Blah blah.
This guy jumped out of the stands, I think, at the French Open, stabbed her in the shoulder.
No, it was at a tournament in Germany. It was like a precursor.
French, I think
yeah, exactly. It was
stabbed her in the shoulder. Her shoulder never really recuperated.
During a break.
She ended up winning another major afterwards, but was never quite the same. And she was out of the game by the age of 25.
Yeah, and
she was great.
She recuperated physically, but she never recuperated mentally.
Yeah, no, she
was
fantastic.
It's a shame. She did absolutely nothing wrong. I wasn't a super fan of her because she was the grunter, but you couldn't argue with her game, and because I was also a Steffi Graf fan at the time too.
And Dave, she was in that window when tennis was great, or maybe we just followed it a little bit more because we're at that age for whatever reason. But there was from like 88 to 92, maybe even 86 to 92, where there tennis with was so good with Boris Becker and Steffi Graf and Chang and Monica Seles, and you had the twilight of Martina Navratilovan's years.
Oh yeah, Jennifer
Tennis was spent.
Capriati,
Capriati was there.
Andre
Tennis was
Agassi. Yeah,
tennis was so good for 7 or 8 years there when we were at that impressionable age, I guess, in the late 80s, early 90s. It was fantastic, and Seles was right there. Yeah, I had her at my number 3 as well.
that's I'm surprised and I'm glad for you, but like yeah, she's a Hall of Famer. Like they put her in the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
as they should have, because she did nothing wrong. Number 2, of all the injuries that we're talking about, this is the only one I saw on TV happen. I was watching this game when it happened. You're gonna know as soon as I said it was the Redskins against the New York Giants.
Joey Theismann.
Joe Theismann to
Oh,
watch.
that thing makes my stomach turn to this day.
I
I've watched it
have
1,000 times.
burned in my brain. I
Oh.
I saw it happen, and then that's back in the day when they had a catastrophic injury. They would show it again and again and again.
Oh,
and
atrocious.
and seeing that leg just hang there for the millisecond and then snap like a twig is like, oh my God.
Horrible.
And then having the defensive players, I think there was Lawrence Taylor that was part of that sack. I think it was him too. Immediately when the defensive players make the play and then they immediately pop up and start waving for the opposing team. Get your doctors out here. He's hurt. And he was an NFL quarterback 1 minute. The next minute he was done. And that was the most catastrophic injury that I saw happen on the screen in front of my face.
Oh, and they play it all the time. I think I wish they would stop, because that every time you see those compound fracture and legs bending in half and knees bending the way they do, that makes my stomach just curl. I can't stand it. I hate it. I hate it.
Like Dak Prescott's a year
all of them.
like,
all
like
of them.
it's just
awful.
like,
Yeah.
oh God. And maybe it's the fact I'm a father now, and I couldn't imagine that happening to my son. And that's when it gets you a little bit more. Like you could, oh God, if that happened to me, like thank God I would be in shock. But you think about it happening to your son,
Oh.
then it's like it really hits home, and yeah, it sucks. But nonetheless, that's my number 2. I was never a fan of him, and I definitely hated him behind the mic on Monday Night Football. He was awful. I hated Joe Theismann. Anyways, which brings me to my number 1. My number 1 happened when I was in grade 9. He's a hockey player. He was a Vezina Trophy winner. He was the first European to ever win the Vezina Trophy. He was a goalie. He was the only goalie not to lose to the United States.
For the Philadelphia Flyers.
For the Philadelphia Flyers, his name is Pelle Lindbergh.
Yep.
26 years old, had the world by the tail, drunk driving, hit a wall.
Driving a Porsche, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. Brick wall.
Yep. And I read that the little article about it again, and he was at a Philadelphia, he was at the Spectrum. He was partying at a bar in the Spectrum till 3:30 in the morning. Like it's different time. This was 1985 where he died.
Yeah.
He died. He had 2 people in the car. Neither of them died, but they got seriously messed up. It's a shame. It's a cautionary tale. And when you're young, when you're young and an athlete and making money and are the cock of the walk, you walk around and act like you are invincible. And this is the first cautionary tale, I think, to me, where it's just I remember seeing the pictures in the paper the next day.
That car was mangled. Yeah.
Like a Porsche isn't a big car to start with, but it was more pop can than race car.
Yeah.
When they were done. Yeah. Like he hit that thing fast, and it's a tragedy. It's to realize his potential so young and to snuff it out immediately. Like he was money. He was a great goaltender.
And to bring it back into sports a little bit, Dave, the Flyers, yeah, they had Hextall in the late '80s. They have not had a goaltender since. Like
No,
really, like they like right now they struggle in that. They've struggled ever since Lindbergh
Hextall.
passed away.
Yeah.
They have struggled in that since Hextall. I don't think like my brother, um, God love him, his fiance, one of her relatives is the goalie coach for the Flyers, so it's all his fault, really. But they're they struggle, and like you wonder if there's you hate to say ghosts and everything else, but my God, there's got to be some kind of a coincidence that they haven't had a goaltender since fucking Pele Lindbergh. They haven't.
Well, Hextall.
X
Hextall
and
got it,
then
and
Hex,
then that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's crazy. Just and that's been a detriment to their
They
organization
made
for so
they
many
made it.
years.
Yeah, they've been to the cup twice, I think, with trash, right? Like that
Yeah.
late in this stuff. But they cannot figure out their goaltending situation. Excuse me. So
Dave, I'll
that's my
go.
top five.
That's your top five. I got. We'll go. I could skip three because you had Celis and I had Celis. Um, Number five for me because I didn't see enough of him, but I've heard nothing but he retired in 1978. I was born in 74. But number four, Bobby Orr. Um, Everybody tells me how great this guy was and the legend of him, and if you put him in the realm of hockey in the top four, you got Orr, Gretzky, Howe, and Lemieux. And there's a lot of people who've seen Orr play a lot over the years. They say that Orr is the best one of the bunch, and his knees gave out on him at an early age. He only played for 12, 13 years, and that was it. He had a swan song with Chicago, just trying to hold on a little bit. But Bobby Orr is my number five guys whose career ended too soon. I try to compare him because I seen and you as well seen Paul Coffey skate, and I said Coffey's the best defenseman I've ever seen skate in my life. Well, Niedermeyer now, but people tell me that Bobby Orr, no one compared to him, and not number five is Bobby Orr. The way it's career ended too soon.
Couple things about Bobby Orr that like the one stat that baffles me. As a D man, he led the league in scoring. He led the
Yeah,
league in scoring, and I think they when I say they, I mean like the people who tell us what stats are important in hockey. They say that plus minus isn't important anymore, and I believe he was a plus 74 on a year, like which is just ungodly. You wouldn't even think that's possible. And then one last thing, it was knee injuries that brought him down. It makes me
yeah.
wonder if he was playing in today's day and age, instead of figuring out how to do this surgery, they know how to do
They
this
know how to
surgery.
do it exactly. Yeah.
Right. And then that might have prolonged, and you never know. But
You put a probe in your knee or whatever else got to happen. You get it scoped. You're good in 6 weeks.
yeah, or get a pig tendon and tighten this up, whatever, like a Tommy John for the knee. But like,
Yeah.
he was on he was on my contender list, and I completely agree that his career was cut short.
Number four, I got Andrew Luck, quarterback, played for the fucking Stanford Cardinal. I got him right there. He was supposed to be the incumbent for Peyton Manning, elbows and arms and this and that and everything else. He called it good at early age. He said, you know what, my health and welfare is much more important than winning championships for a franchise. In my opinion, he called it good. He could have kept playing, but he says, you know what? I probably have enough money in the bank. He could have probably been an all-timer, but he's going to be the guy that might have been, and could have been, not is. Andrew Luck, he just said, I've had it. My body can't take it anymore. I'd rather walk. And he doesn't look very good. He was on the national championship game. They showed him, he was wearing his Kmart duds and everything else. He didn't look like he was a multimillionaire as he is. But Andrew Luck, to me, he's not number four on my list of guys who retired or called it good too soon, because that guy was good, man. Like right from college right to his Indianapolis Colts days, and he was a perfect. He was the perfect guy to take over from the same quarterback that Peyton Manning was. They're the same kind of guy. They weren't the most mobile, but they were smart and they could throw the ball a little bit. I think that's why my number 4 is Andrew Luck.
I don't like Luck was not, he was mobile. That boy can boogie. He was awesome to watch. He was the perfect guy to take over from Peyton Manning. He's smart, he's humble,
Went to
and
Stanford.
highly skilled. God, he was so good. And this is the thing I say. He was. I wonder how much the game has changed, because I've said it before with someone like Trevor Lawrence going to a big pile of stinky ass in Jacksonville. How's he supposed to succeed there? But Luck, he did have more weapons, but he had no offensive line. He was running for his life all the time, but he had a cannon. He was so smart. He was good with the press. I loved him. I thought he was a
Great
hell of
player.
a quarterback, super quarterback, great player,
If he
gamer.
didn't, Dave, if he didn't go to Stanford, I'd like him more.
I get that. It's just
Fuck,
it's
I
a
hate
shame he
Stanford.
didn't play in the Red Sox farm system in the summer or something like
And
that.
who really would have hated him.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll totally concur with Andrew Luck.
Number 2, I got 2 guys to finish off the hockey, or 2 hockey players finish off 1 and 2 on my list. Number 2, you're not a big fan of this guy, but Eric Lindros, man, this guy was a dominant hockey player. But the problem is that he played the way he got hurt, and he went down because of the way he played. He played too hard. He must have had a heavy head because he couldn't keep his chin up, and he skated his head down a lot because he got nailed by Stevens. But the way he played was the way he went down. Eric Lindros, man, that there wasn't a more dominant hockey player from junior hockey when he played in the Canada Cup in 1991 out of the Oshawa Generals right on through, and he won an MVP. But man, he played so hard, and he got beat up, and he was dominant, but concussions got the best of him. He had a shitty. His parents were shitty with his whole his career and everything else, and it's too bad that he'll be remembered that by a lot more than what his career was. How his mother Bonnie was his agent, and he'll be remembered that a lot more than what his career was. But man, oh man, you cannot dispute how good Lindros was, and careers and it was cut short because of concussions and just the way he played the game.
I agree with that. He was a bigger, stronger, faster Mark Messier. It's just a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
There was nothing you can do, and he had the skill to finish. He was a joy to watch. He was such a beast, and the game back then was a lot rougher and a lot more hitting, a lot more east-west hitting, I believe is what how they define that now. And you're right, it is the downfall. Like if you're gonna be a crash and bang power player in the NHL, you ain't seeing 33. Like I don't care what year you play the game, but if the power, so you are gonna see 33, but you're not signing a contract after that one.
No,
Because that's just a toll on your body, and having to play that many games every year, never minding the playoffs where it gets a little bit greasier and dirtier. Eric Lindros is he made the Hall of Fame, yes.
yes,
But he's definitely a Hall of Fame talent. I didn't particularly enjoy his attitude or anything, but I did cheer for him when he wore the Leaf. Don't understand why he was wearing the C in Nagano when they lost, but that's not on him.
that was a Bobby
So,
Clark thing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's for someone that is so talented and had the ability to be Sid Crosby as a face. It seemed like when those little
every
moments,
step his parents took was wrong.
no, that's not blaming. Like he was a man, he was earning his own money. I'm not
Well,
gonna blame his mom and dad.
Never
No.
did. You never disagree with your mother, but whatever. No, doesn't matter.
Well, then you haven't grown up. Grow up.
No, and that's the problem. Anyways, my number 1 guys whose careers ended too soon because of injury. A teammate to Clark Gillies, who passed away this week, sadly. Dave, the one of the first, well, the only dynasty that the first dynasty I've seen in my lifetime was the Islanders. Clark Gillies is one of the greatest players of those Islander teams, but the guy who was just a legend, had the white Titan hockey stick named after him, Mike Bossy. Man, this guy averaged 57 goals a year in his 10-year career. Part of those Islander teams that won 4 Stanley Cups. Mike Bossy, man, that guy could score goals at will. His knees actually gave out on him. His legs just couldn't do it anymore. Like I said, he averaged 57 goals a year in his 10-year career. That's unheard of. You know, if he plays 20 years, he's Gretzky, he's way past Gretzky's record, right? Like it's unbelievable. Bossy, to me, man, that guy was so good, and he's forgotten about a lot because he only played for 10 years on Long Island. Because after the Islanders won their 4 cups, they were pretty much forgotten about. No one thinks about the Islanders at all anymore. Like yes, Poozer does, he's an Islanders fan, but man, the Islanders are the second team in New York, and then in their division, they're probably the 3rd or 4th team that get talked about. People don't think about the Islanders at all, but those Islander teams were so good, and Bossy was, man, that guy. Like I said, he averaged 57 a year.
When we discussed that we were going to talk about this, I wrote down a ton of names, and I went to different websites and stuff, and Bossy is on my contender list. The one stat I wrote down, highest goals per game average in NHL history, 0.76 goals per game for his career.
Crazy.
That is outstanding, and that, like, better than Gretzky, better than Lemieux, better than
Ovechkin.
Yeah, like, better. Fucker scored goals, and then at the end of the day, that's how you win the games.
Yeah,
and he scored. And then, like, even I remember some of those Canada Cups way back in the day.
Yeah.
I had a buddy who was an Oilers hater, and Gretzky and Bossy were actually on a team, so I don't know what year it would have been.
It would have been 84.
And it's just one of those hater guys. Oh, Gretzky's going to score. Bossy scored 2 last game, so Gretzky's going to have to score 3 this game. Like, it's just, you know exactly the guy I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that guy. And you know, he can. If you score goals at a bigger per game rate than Wayne Gretzky, you're doing okay in my book.
Man,
what
he
a
scored
goal scorer.
600 plus goals in his 10 years and everything else, man. If he could have kept going, but his legs just gave out and he couldn't do it anymore. And he's one of those guys, once again, Dave, if the technology and the science and the medical history and everything else could have been better, who knows what Bossy could have had? Because man, oh man, those numbers just can't be beat.
They can't be beat. Like, I don't understand how you can do it. Like, maybe for a season, but over a career is unheard of. It's crazy.
You wonder, Dave, like we talked, just a quick question here. Like, all these guys whose careers ended and it's all before medicine and science and everything else got to where it's at today. You wonder if these guys sit back having a beer with their buddies around the kitchen table and go, man, I wish that the science and medicine was better back when we played.
For sure. I don't know how you couldn't, but there's also the thing
they smile and laugh and smoking cigars and having a good time about it. But like if they're just sitting alone, go, Jesus, my knee gave out, but if I would have had this,
like Bossy and Orr for sure, right?
Yeah.
I'll just like I said, I wrote down a whole ton of names. The other one, it was a goal scorer in the NHL, was Pavel Bure, right? He had knee issues too. And he was.
Well, I think he had Russian mafia issues too, but anyways,
whatever. Like, he had issues.
We shouldn't say it out loud, but
yeah, that's the only.
Someone might be listening.
I'm gonna go over a couple. Like, the only other hockey player on my list that didn't make it was Steve Moore. He got a case
of the Bertuzzi thing.
He got a bad case of Bertuzzi-itis.
He got Bertuzzi, yeah. There's no doubt about that one.
Yeah, but like, he's not a great. And I also had Lemieux, but his injury was cancer. But he did come back, and he had back issues.
A baseball guy, Dave, that we talked about. We both saw him in and had a great time down in Denver, Colorado, years and years ago. Back, geez, what year that was? 2000, I think it was. And we had some great seats, and we were, and our good late friend Rob O'Neill was talking with Griffey a little bit and chirping him a little bit. But was Griffey's career cut short because of injury? Okay, no, I'll word this differently. Was his greatness cut short because of injuries he had, or because he just didn't have the same wherewithal that, say, like a Tom Brady did?
Yeah, I think I don't know exactly how to say this. He was so gifted, and I'm not saying he didn't. What I'm gonna say is I believe his career would have been longer if he would have had a better body maintenance schedule. When I say that, I mean working out, eating better, and just like
I mean,
I don't
neither of us know what, but I'm just,
I don't know,
if
but that's what I think. He was so sweetly gifted athletically, and we all know this. But and you can do that and still be best. But like, unless if you're gonna still compete with the best of the world, still be one of the best of the world. You got to put in a little maintenance, and I know from everything I've read about him, Griff did not know the trainer's room, like the gym's room. Like,
and the thing with baseball, Dave, compared to football, you can
it's flexibility. It's not
you
so much
you
about lifting weights. It's just like taking care of your body.
if the rest of your team isn't very good, you can be the most gifted baseball player ever, but if your team's not very good, you're not going to win. Like if Griffey would have put in the time that Brady did, would he have any more rings? Or probably not.
Well, when you say any more rings, you mean a ring,
A
right?
ring.
Yeah. You never know, right? Like, because how close is Mike Trout to a ring?
A long, 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 long ways away.
Like, I don't like. You'd have to take a couple sheets of paper to show me that path. Griffey was closer in Seattle than he ever got in Cincy.
Yeah.
But I think he just liked playing in Cincy better, and I
Close
think
to his hometown and everything else. Yeah.
and I think that is his hometown.
A little
think
suburb outside of Cincy, yeah. Yeah.
Well, so when you say closer, you mean his hometown, right? Like his
Like
dad
Fort
was on
McLeod,
that-
Lethbridge, yeah.
Yes. And so I don't know. Like, who am I to say what motivates Ken Griffey Jr.? Like, he was an absolute pleasure to watch. One of the sweetest swings I've ever seen.
Top 10
Like,
guy of all time in my eyes.
The two sweetest swings that come to my mind, it's Ken Griffey Jr. and you're gonna laugh, John Olerud. That guy he had a wonderful swing, a textbook swing. And he's obviously, like, no one's gonna call him the greatest hitter of all time, but oh boy, that
solid,
guy had
constant swing up the middle,
just a pretty swing. Just a
Yeah.
pretty swing.
No,
Yeah.
I love Johnny Olerud. He was a great player. Anyways, Dave, fun show tonight. Anytime there's a Hall of Fame chat and everything else, it always gets things going. I still think you're wrong about Ortiz. Shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but whatever, doesn't matter. Anyways, 1420 Sports Podcast, 4 Beers Sports Talk on a whole lot more. Take care of each other. More important, take care of yourself. So need you around. Keep your stick on the ice. And what else, Dave?
I don't want to see Jim swing at high pitches. And to remember, you said Ortiz does belong in the Hall of Fame, but he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. You said he's a Hall of Famer, but
I've had a couple beers, so I changed my mind.
Well, okay. Just don't let your bias get in the way of just understanding what the real
I don't think he's better. I don't think he's any better than fucking Prince Fielder.
And you're entitled to that, but you did say earlier on he should.
I changed my mind.
Okay, we'll talk about that next time.
Tell
me if there's anything.
Have a good night. So we'll talk again on Monday.
Later, everybody.